Thank you for speaking up.
Anybody can hear back there?
Are you good? Can we hear? All right. Thank you guys so much for coming and joining us and spending your time remembering Seth. We have a few special speakers, so special friends and family speakers, and then actually at the end we'll invite you to come up and share as well. So if you can hold, if you haven't already been invited to speak, if you can hold that until the end, and then we'll actually give you all a chance to share your memories too. And if you are coming up to speak, just remember to put that mic right up against your mouth so we can hear you. And we're actually going to start today with Leslie, and we're going to start, and I know you can.
Tell me if it's loud
You
enough.
put it right up to your mouth.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have to also give a look at my cue cards. So I'm sorry about that. I have written this and thought about it over and over and over, and I don't know if I can do the whole thing, but I will try. Okay. In thinking of Seth's death, I keep returning to a phrase my World War II dad would say when a plane went down. One of our aircraft is missing. Seth went down doing something he loved. We were biking our tandem home from a Saturday ride. We were the T-Cats, the tandem team, and I was so happy for that. We had some great rides. Amanda will remember one of these because we went, our first long ride was across Minnesota, border to border. And she picked us up in the North Dakota border, right, or South Dakota border, I think it was, to bring us back. But that was our first long ride within the first year. We did a St. Paul to Ely and back for the most part, although we didn't make it all the way back, and Deb and AJ came and picked us up at the very end. We did a loop around northern Michigan and upper Wisconsin. And we had a great time. It was just the two of us. We just loved spending that time together. We recently checked out the latest extensions of the Mesabi and Gitchigami trails up in northern Minnesota. And they're almost finished. Well, one of them. We had long adventures, just each other, no regrets, good endorphins. Seth was also, as you know, or some of you know, was a sailor, a scientist, a teacher, an historian, and above all, a writer. I think a lot of people have seen his writing, and we'll hear maybe more of it today. He was witty, funny, incisive. He surprised and entertained me every day. He was also patient with me. On the Saturday before we went on this, our Saturday ride on August 30th was really a celebration of the fact that I had completed the last hours of webinars that I had to complete for my law license. 46 hours of CLEs, and I had put them off because I wasn't going to renew that license. But Friday night, I completed them. So I was, he was the push. I at one point wanted to give up and I almost said, I'm done. I can't keep doing this. I can't look at these screens anymore. He said, I think you're going to want to have that license just in case. Not just in case. So he pushed me on. So that day was supposed to be our celebration. And it was, in a way. We had already done 30 miles. But he endured. He was patient with me. After many late dinners where I was trying to meet that deadline, we finally thought we had time to enjoy. We had times, no deadlines, and no agenda. Then, the next thing on our ride that I heard was a yell, maybe a yow, like that little sign says back there, yow, and he went down. And we both went down. And he was grasping for breath. And that's all I knew. Because I never was able to, he never revived. He never came back. And we're just wishing always we had more time. That's all I wish, is that we had more time, of course. I came across this little brief saying, and I'm just going to end with it, because I think it kept coming back, this kind of thing kept coming back to me, and I hope that I will keep remembering it and I think it's important. And I'm not even sure who the author is. Maybe somebody can identify it, but I'm not sure. That is, if there be sorrow, let it be for things undone, unrealized, unattained. To these add one, love withheld, restrained. Okay, thank you very much. Encryption.
And now we'll bring up Amanda Granger, Steph's daughter.
I didn't write anything down, so I'm just going to speak from the heart. My dad once told me that if there were a catalog of children, that he would still pick me. And if there were a catalog of dads, I would still pick my dad. And in that catalog, I think it would say, he is the most kind and the most interesting. And I've been thinking about it, and I think the way to be interesting is to be interested. And he was so interested in the world and in science and in history and in other people, and he was definitely interested in all of you. And one of the ways I think he showed that is if you ever were anywhere with my dad, he always had a giant Nikon camera with him, and he would take your picture. And I think when he was taking your picture, he was saying, what a beautiful moment this is. And you look wonderful right now. And I love you so much. And I think of so many pictures that I've seen of so many people here in this room. And he loves you so much, and I love you, and thank you for being here. So I'm just going to take a quick picture, because it means I love you.
So you better smile.
Okay, cheese. 1, 2, 3, cheese?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Live long and prosper. And now we'll have Carrie and Mike Tinty and the Tinty family.
Hi everyone, I'm Carrie, Leslie's daughter. This is my family, my husband Mike, Natalie, Dominic, and Ella. Our son Josh couldn't be here today, unfortunately, he wanted to be here. We're truly grateful for everyone here that came out to celebrate Steph's life. I will never forget how thrilled I was when my mom met Steph. Growing up with a single mom, it was a huge hope of mine that she would find her person. And when she met him with that bike group, I immediately knew they were the perfect match. Over the past 19 years, Steph became a major part of our family. We have many memories with him. And as Amanda mentioned, Steph was someone who really invested in his people, and we were very lucky to be some of those people. Steph was a super grandpa and a super fan for my kids. When he showed up to games, he cheered so loudly. He always noticed something specific that they did and complimented them. And he took the best action shots that he eagerly shared after. He was thoughtful, and he took a personal interest in each of our lives. If he showed up with a book for one of us, we knew it was well researched, well thought through. When my son Josh was into selling raffle tickets, he got him a book called How to Create Super Fans. He went down, learned to play chess, he taught him how, and got him a book titled How to Beat Your Dad in Chess. His ability to live in the moment and be present was also something we all really appreciated. When my mom and Seth would stop by for dinner, and one of the kids would even mention anything wrong with their bike, he's immediately out in the garage fixing it for them. One of my favorite Seth memories that I'm always going to miss is calling the house for my mom. And he wouldn't just say, hold on, let me go get her. He would give me the play-by-play as he walked through the house looking for her. I'm ascending up the stairs, I hear the blow dryer. She must be closed. She's not in the bathroom. Mom, I found her, your co-counselor. He was a huge presence in every room he entered, and he will be greatly missed by our family. We will go forward remembering the way he lived his life and trying to do better in all these ways. Showing up, investing in people, and being present in the big and small moments. Thank you all for being here to honor Seth, and a special thank you to my mom, Amanda, and Darcy, who did such an amazing job putting this celebration of life together. Thank you all for being here.
Hi, I'm Ella. This is my grandma. I've known Seth my whole life, and he's always treated me like a granddaughter. I've never met anyone who was so smart but could always make people laugh at the same time. And he taught me so many things, like about science, how to shuffle cards, and how to do a puzzle. There were so many random things I asked him about, and he always had an answer. I had to learn the difference between when Seth was explaining something that was real and joking around. He once told me that if I swallowed an apple seed, a tree would grow out of my stomach. I believed that for many years, and now whenever I eat an apple, I think of him. He made the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever had, because he used a lot of butter. And I will always remember and miss his laugh. He asked me how I was doing and really listened to what I had to say and what was important to me. He taught me I could do anything. I will really miss him.
He and I had gone through painful divorces and were both committed single fathers. Each of us endured rough patches in our careers, but we helped each other out and functioned as each other's sounding board and job referral service. In some ways, we were opposites. Seth had an analytical mind. He liked to ponder and to explain, to dissect. I'm a nonlinear, intuitive type. Whatever our secret sauce was comprised of, it seemed to have worked. Basically, we trusted one another. We never had a crossword between us. Many years later, but still amazingly 20 years ago, we decided to dust off our cross-country skis and plow together through deep snow and sub-zero temperatures. Out of shape, we were hot and exhausted. But we were also unattached single parents who enjoyed the activity and social time together. And so we kept at it that winter. As the snow melted, we switched to bikes. We could not have known in 2005 what a wonderful and enduring adventure we were embarking on. We soon invited a friend, then another friend. Friends invited friends. Over the years, more came to ride. A core group formed, and it became a solid bike group, as we referred to it. Eventually, Seth, who loved to play around with words and catchy phrases, named it spokespeople. Seth was always on hand for trailside, bike repair, equipment recommendations, or a weather report. He was at his best when, full of caffeine and endorphins, holding forth on an array of subjects at coffee shops. His leadership, writing skill, sense of humor, dedication, and faithfulness were the glue that held this group of desperate personalities together. For years, he planned a weekly ride that included a starting point, coffee stop, and details of the route. He unfailingly held this self-assigned post for almost all the years that we rode together. If he was going to be away, he'd ask for a stand-in volunteer. He followed up the weekly ride by sending out a sport report that gave an account of the ride, listing the participants, any incidental occurrences, and particularly the conversation topics covered at the coffee shop. They were always fun to read, and many of them were memorable. Seth was a big part of the reason that Saturday rides were so much fun and endured for so long. He was our guide, he was my friend, and I don't know what I'll do without him. Now, this is a prayer that Seth wrote. Actually, it's a riff on the 23rd Psalm that I'd like to share. And his metaphorical persona was Clyde. So, as Clyde is a rider, I shall not walk. He maketh me actually see the green pastures. He leadeth me along the still highways. He repaireth my flats. He guideth me in the paths of fitness for my health's sake. Yea, though I bike through the valley of strip malls, I fear no fast food, for Clyde will feed me. His chain and his sprocket, they transport me. He prepares our trips despite crazy motorists. He anointeth me with lubricant. I am not run over. Surely good, healthy lifestyles shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Hammer Gel forever. Amen.
And another bike bestie, Sharon Castle.
I first met Seth and Leslie about 15 years ago. Someone from church mentioned to my husband, Randy, that she knew a guy who organized a weekly bike ride on a Saturday morning. She added, I think you might like to join them. That was our introduction to the spokespeople and to the many adventures and friendships that lay ahead. Randy did enjoy the rides, and I gave up Saturday mornings on the soccer sidelines not long after that to join them. Every week, an email from Seth would land in our inboxes, setting a meeting point, start time, and a coffee destination. It also included a weather prediction that influenced the timing and the length of the ride. Seth had an uncanny ability to plan a ride around whatever weather might be looming. I would learn later about the job he had preparing flight plans for Masaba Airlines. If the weather turned unpredictable in the middle of a ride, Seth would pull out a portable weather device that looked like something you might carry at a steampunk convention and adjust the route accordingly. The taglines on those emails range from quotes by John Lewis, "We may have all come here on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now," to Warren Buffett, "You only find out who is swimming naked when the tide goes out." Always interesting, sometimes cryptic, forever thought-provoking. The most enduring tagline, though, my favorite, was "Don't be an endorphin orphan," a pithy way of saying that exercise is essential for the soul. When he had time, as Bob mentioned, Seth would send out an entertaining sport report chronicling the ride, complete with photographs and sprinkled with Sethisms such as "No mechanicals marred the merry meander," and of course, an account of the weather. Those weekly rides became the highlight of my week. In the early days, when I was horribly out of shape, I would occasionally cut off a mile or two so I wouldn't hold up the group. My thinking was that if I could sneakily drop off the back of the pack, no one would notice, provided I wasn't late for coffee. This was not so, because Seth saw people. I realized this on one ride when Seth announced, And here comes Sharon Castle with her patented intercept. As I rejoined the group after what I thought was a particularly crafty maneuver. I am sure the extra pair of eyes on the back of his helmet served him well when he was leading students on group rides. Keen observer that he was, Seth maintained an infectious sense of wonder of the world around him. One spokespeople ride in particular stands out for me. We had ridden to Franconia Sculpture Park, which is about 40 miles north of here. If you haven't been there, it's the kind of place where you feel like you could be whisked off to the land of Oz, or if you stood in just the right spot, Scotty might beam you up. So picture this. Seth is standing in the middle of the field, turning this way and that to take in all of the artwork. All the while he's exclaiming, "This is some trippy shit!" With quintessential exclamation points. That's 15 if you're curious. Seth, with his steel trap mind, would have known that. I had to Google it. His enthusiasm was often accompanied by expansive hand gestures, and if you were sitting next to him on Saturday morning coffee, you learned to hang on tightly to your coffee cup. If you didn't, well, that was on you. Literally. Seth stressed always that the group was open to all. We could get lost trying to trace the convoluted connections that brought each of us to the group. Who had worked with or dated whom, or maybe someone knew someone who knew a guy. In reality, though, you didn't have to know anyone. If you struck up a conversation with one of us in a coffee shop, we'd all assume you knew someone else. Just like that, you became one of the spokespeople. Spokespeople has been so much more to me than a biking group. What Seth knew and shared with so many others was that biking together is as important as the ride itself. We had fabulous trips to the Netherlands, Italy, the Masabi Trail, and Boulder Junction, to name a few. But the friendships that developed around this love of cycling are the most valuable of all. We traveled together, dined together, even formed a COVID pod together. This was the group of people that had held me up when Randy passed away in 2016. And now, there's another whole new universe. Leslie, Amanda, and Micah, sweet Micah, who stayed at my house when Seth and Leslie were off on grand tandem adventures. You are surrounded by this interconnected web of people whose lives Seth touched in some way. You're here to walk and run beside you on this journey. Seth, wherever in the galaxy you are, I hope you're listening. Thanks for all the great rides. If there is a great ride, if there is a great beyond, Randy will be glad to see a familiar riding companion again. At the end of the day, sit down and crack open a beer. And if you're sitting there, watching this pale blue dot revolving at 900 miles an hour, maybe, just maybe, you'll say, "This is some really trippy shit."
And now Bridget Fenchel, mine and Amanda's mother.
They're crying. I had something started to write, but I was at Leslie's yesterday and there was a book that was on the table, and it was a book that her dad had written about his time as a test pilot for the Corsair in World War II, and in the book was a poem that he'd written about one of his comrades. And Leslie would laugh and she said, "I think he fell in love with my dad before he fell in love with me." And so this is the poem of Leslie's dad, "The Mark of Man. There comes a time when you know a man, not his name, and though a clear soft light converges on the shadowed path that ever beckons. And for that fleeting moment, in the ceaseless round of aging years, because he would make his print of truth and goodness an imprint on your soul, you know a man and love him. And all your life is suddenly anew because you share his ways. So by contagion is the quality of the lives of others he was bound to touch. And from his final vantage point, that man, creative that you knew, as with the wind when forcing full the sail to wave the ship, does radiate a steady, unabated smile to each, where late he left his mark, and is not lost, nor ever will be. Thank you.
If you can kind of maybe start a line along the side here, and we'll have you come up and share your memory with us. Do you want to start?
I'm Pam. I'm Seth's sister, and I've got a few things to say about the good that he had in him. Getting Darcy the big bear after she had her burn accident. Seeing Amanda off to the bus for kindergarten, he said he cried. Probably after he visited Amanda's kindergarten classroom, he admired the schedule of play, nap, snack. After he got his pilot's license, taking me and the family for my birthday on a flyby, the Winter Carnival Ice Palace, and then to my favorite restaurant at the time, the E-Diner. When I was still teaching, he did some computer consulting for a grant I was part of. I told him he could be paid. He did it gratis. In a live video he shared with me, he recognized my street creds as a teacher. He visited my class and talked about aviation. He brought me some videos when I was going through chemo and radiation for breast cancer. He loved his mom, Amanda, Darcy, Bridget, Peter, Ted, and Leslie.
Again, you can just make a line up here.
Hi. Is this close enough? Can you hear? I'm closer. Okay. I'm lucky to have kind of been part of Leslie's world all my life, and what a wonderful addition it was when we were able to spend years with Seth. I was a teacher. I want to just tell you about the amazing three things that I remember about Seth, especially in the classroom, because he was a substitute teacher. And anybody who's been in a middle school classroom where there is a substitute knows that things can get way out of control real fast. So what Seth did, and it was often about how noisy it was, he developed some kind of device, and this is the way it was, where he put it up on a bulletin board, but it flashed numbers, okay? And that measured the decibels in the room. So when it got higher and higher, and he told the kids, when it gets to 55, we've got to quiet down. And never have I been across the hall from someone with a sub that was that well behaved. Because all of a sudden, it'd be getting noisier and noisier, and you'd have one kid going, wait, it's 54. We got to start being quiet. He was amazing that way. The other thing I remember about a great middle conversation kids were having, and he told us about this. They were talking about college and how hard it could be, and they didn't know if they'd ever go and who would ever go. And they said to Steph, well, where did you go to college? And before he could answer, one of the kids said, well, if White ain't no Harvard, I bet. And then the last thing had to do with my sister's retirement party. Because Leslie is such an incredibly hard worker. And she works overtime, and she works in the mornings and the nights, especially when she was in full-time employment, running the firm with Carrie and all that. And so we went to her retirement party. And as he walked in the door, Seth was there with a little sign that said, you know, this is only provisional. And the last thing I wanted to read was just a poem that he liked. I sent a copy to somebody that I had written, and I was excited it was going to get published. So I sent it to him, and I got a lovely note back. And it's called Even Now. And it actually is about this time in our country and how after a couple months, I think I wrote it within maybe March or so, and things were very troubling already. I walk the dog, morning fog, chill, I drink coffee at Spy House, hesitate over words. Even now, a young woman with a backpack grabs her coffee and runs out the door for her bus. In New York, my grandson is catching a subway from school. Now twilight at noon as ice comes for children with accents who sit behind school desks drawing the first 5 letters of the alphabet on wine-lined paper. Even now, we live under a siege forever by what is done in our names, yet I buy chicken for Sunday. My sister rides bikes in Tucson. My brother walks his gardens in North Carolina, finding produce for mountain people after the floods. As ice waits at library doors, cooks hide in closets, some go underground. Friends talk of moving Ghana, Canada, Costa Rica, anywhere welcome. Is this where I am to be? In a time when grief underlines the blue sky and invades the heart? Or even as a found poem flutters from the handle of a boy who is carried away? A rhyme there in his yearning, a verse in his eviction. Thank you.
Jerry, you can come and line up right here with us.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Back in 1971, Seth's mom hired me to work at the Dale Street Preschool. And along with working at the Dale Street Preschool, I got to know Seth, Pam, and Peter. Particularly Pam over the years. But here was what happened with Seth. Okay. The Dale Street Preschool, I worked there for 5 years, and it was closing. The public schools were taking in kids with disabilities now, so the preschool was ending. And Alice said to me, oh, by the way, Seth can help people with resumes. So I thought, oh, all right. So I contacted him, and here is what I got. This letter about the work that he could do, and this lovely phrase on the side, quality is all you need. And so, I hired him. He brought a million different examples of ways to do resumes, and I'll be honest, they were great. Absolutely great. He almost always said, only do 1 page. So, then he did mine, which is right here. And that led to my next job, which lasted for 2 years until that program closed because the public schools were taking in infants. And then I used the same format for the St. Paul Public Schools and got my job there, and I was there forever after. So, Seth helped me throughout my whole work career, basically. Now, go 25 years forward, and my husband, Mel, wanted to apply to be a Bush Fellow. So, I said, well, you know who helped me with my resume was Seth Bludorn, and he knew Seth, you know, we wove in and out of the Bludorn's life here and there. And he hired Seth. Seth didn't charge him. Seth just came over and said, okay, I'll put this together for you. And he created, with Mel, this magnificent application to the Bush Foundation. And Mel became a Bush Fellow. So those are the ways Seth wove in and out of our lives. Now, I'm just going to tell you a couple of other things. One is, he also then advised me how to go into interviews. And he said, be sure to always tell them you're a quick study. And I don't think I was a particularly quick study. But he said, bosses really like that. So, I did it. And then, over the years, even though he wasn't in my life much, Pam and I would see each other, but I didn't see Seth much. But I would get joke emails from him during that early time of people sending emails back and forth, and I loved them. They always made me laugh. And so, Seth, I say goodbye. We are the same age, by the way. I was born in 49 also. So, anyway, thank you guys. Blessings, everyone.
I'll keep it up to my face. Thanks. I'm Ted. I am Darcy and Amanda's brother. And they say it takes a village, and I think everybody in this room can agree. We were extremely lucky to have Seth in our village. He's by far the smartest man that I ever met. I think everybody in here would agree with that. It wasn't close. Me and Bob joked a little bit that the information never had an agenda. Whatever information he had to give you, he would give it to you, and then more. His weather reporting was better than if you were to go on your phone and check the weather. It was more accurate. It was quicker. I have so many memories of things that I would never have been exposed to because of Seth. Boat rides, plane rides that he would fly and captain the boat rides. Dinosaurs. I still have memory of him falling asleep with Jurassic Park on, and some nightmares I had because of that. I was 5 years old. And then, he never, I can't think of a time where he ever scolded anybody or even got mad. I can remember we brought Mandy out to Boston to go to Harvard, and I regrettably took apart the front fender on the van trying to get out of our driveway. And so both Mandy and I were really not in a good spot about it, and said, we'll just go down to the store, get some duct tape, and go back 1,200 miles, no problem. And there's countless stories like that. I'm sure I have more that I'm forgetting, and I should have prepared better for this, but yeah, really, we lost a really, really impactful person. And so we just need to remember to carry on the things that he valued, and keep learning as he would want all of us to. Thank you.
First, I'm Barbara Beltrand. Real close, okay. I'm Barbara Beltrand. First, I want to thank Leslie and Darcy and Amanda. Touching them.
Yeah.
Okay. For allowing us to be together to remember Seth. I'm in the bike group. I met Seth in about 2004 when he invited me to join the bike group. I was on a sailing boat and he said, you bike. And this was before he tandem up with Leslie, and he led the group. And he was such a strong, in-shape person that he'd ride to the back where I was and sweep me along. And he kept that we called him the Border Collie. Anyways, in the middle of July, I was on Cape Cod with my bicycle on a road trip and anticipating coming back to Minnesota at the beginning of September and wanting to stop at places with my bike. So I sent him an email. And if you'll allow me to share a few of Seth's words, all I asked was, what do you think about a bike lock? I sent it to Sharon, who works at REI, and to Seth. And the next day, on the 24th of July, at 10:27 a.m., he answered. And I want you to get ready for a long narrative because you know Seth. A professional outfit is going to get your bike if they have made up their mind to grab it. If memory serves, and in this case, it probably does. One of the teams in this year's Tour de France fell victim to thieves who stole their entire inventory of race bikes. Guesstimates based on retail, and Sharon's the expert here, is $15,000 to $25,000 per unit. These are, after all, the world's fastest bikes as a class, so the loss could easily run to something like $250,000, possibly more. New paragraph. There is a guy, not sure if he has just YouTube clip or an entire channel, who promotes practical bike security in New York City. He grades locking practices. I think an A job would look like separating a wheel, typically the front wheel, from the frame and locking it separately. Take the saddle with you or lock it with a separate mini cable device, you get the picture. You always want to lock a bike to some fixed object. The U-lock form factor isn't foolproof, but it takes some planning and some equipment and a methodology to defeat a U-lock without a key. We own at least 3 cables, 2 light duty, mostly for appearances, and 1 fairly serious guy for outside the hotel work when on the road. Paragraph. Some observations. Pat O'Brien forgot his combination outside the Dunn Brothers in Linden Hills. We ended up dismantling the bike rack to free his mud. But this took a few minutes and we were repeatedly observed by passerbys. Interestingly enough, nobody bothered to ask us what we were up to. More recently, I had a convenience combination cable fail and felt forced to cut my bike free. A hike to the nearest ace allowed me to secure a medium-duty, notice the detail, medium-duty bolt cutter. It took just slightly over a minute to gnaw my way through the protective covering and the braided steel strands within. Several people observed me. This was happening at the racks at Health Partners Como Clinic, but no one challenged me, and no one called any cops. New paragraph. Thefts from the school's racks at Northeast Middle were rare, but at least on one occasion, I myself chased thieves off. The bikes were locked right outside our classroom window. And in another, a locked bike was picked off by a thief who used a fragment of concrete to smash the mechanism to pieces. I continue to marvel at the ratio of value between a potential prize, say a $3,000 to $5,000 e-bike, and a $20 spaghetti noodle thin cable lock. New paragraph. I also marvel at bikes seen at racks with locks, but the way the lock was used wouldn't stop a thief from walking off, maybe by taking the frame and leaving the locked wheel, almost always the front wheel, or just slipping the whole bike up and over the post it's attached to. Paragraph. I try not to be too judgmental, as in truth, I have made many, if not all, these errors myself. I do console myself with the image of the scrapper who grabbed our tandem from the alley in broad daylight, the look on his face after I'd run him down, and 2 St. Paul police squads materialized to back me up. On our roads, we were taken to leaving the bikes on their respective car racks. He finally is getting to my question. The hitch rack is locked to the car with a key. It has a cable for bikes, but we use the U-lock for this. The rooftop rack is bolted to crossbars, which are in turn locked to the car's factory-installed rails. For this, we use cables and a padlock. The front wheel stays in the car under the shroud behind the second row seats. New paragraph. Whenever in the slightest bit of doubt, we typically share our sleeping space with our bikes, the space, not the bed. We love it when the place we're staying has separate, secure, indoor storage available, and love it just a bit more when it's purpose-built for bike security. Professor Beltran, of all people, will understand that you can't prevent theft. All you can do is harden the target, use some judgment, and try to keep the risks manageable.
Okay, my name is Joan, and up here, can you hear? And I met Seth in 1970 when he had dropped out of Harvard. I'm going to say something kind of serious. We've been friends ever since. I met him at the Triangle Bar, for those of you who remember the Triangle Bar, and we talked all night. First night, we just hit it off.
And I would say it was that curiosity and that intelligence. But what I wanted to share was the other thing is we were both suffering. And we were suffering from very high expectations of ourselves that came from our wonderful families, but families that placed very high expectations and a great deal of fear that if you didn't meet those expectations, you would be a very bad person. And Seth had a lot of suffering in him. And I connected with that suffering. Seth had a lot of suffering in him. And I connected with that, and he connected with me, and then we both went ahead and did what we needed to do. He went through the police academy and was a beat cop for 2 years. So I lived with a beat cop, a black beat cop in 1970, 71. It was a very powerful experience. And then he went back to Harvard, and I gathered up my work and finished my degree while he finished his degree. But I do want to say that the things that give life pain, Seth knew those things too. And I think that's what made him so kind and so available and so loving, was his life wasn't, there's lots of fun in there and lots of joking, but there was also a very deep side that really connected with the pain of the world. And it was very important to me to have a companion that could do that at that time. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, my name is Jack Silverman. I have known Seth for 45 years. I'm just trying to remember when I met him. Mostly knew him in the first 5 of the 45. And by the way, this is such a wonderful gathering. If you ever put this together, I want to hire you to do mine when I go. I've never seen such organization and timing in a menu. It was okay. So I met. Let me get my notes up. I met Seth maybe around 1980. I had started a production business. It's called Umark Productions, and we made television commercials and videos using videotape before anybody used videotape. And I had about 3 or 4 people that I worked with. None of us had any money. And we would get together and we would do these commercials, and Seth became my writer. I don't exactly know how I met Seth. It might have been through Peter, because I banked at US Bank where Peter worked, and I think he might have introduced me. He said, yeah, my brother is a writer. I gotta say that Seth was probably one of the smartest people that I've ever met in my life. I mean, he was a true Renaissance person, and I've heard a lot of people here say stuff about him, but I mean, just his background, you know, summa cum laude from Harvard, and then a police officer part, and he just, whenever you had to have like a discussion with him or an argument, you know, Seth would be like looking away and kind of looking over your shoulder, but you would never win that argument because he sort of always had the last word. And he was just brilliant, and we were making commercials, you know, for no money, basically. We were doing them for like local businesses. And I'm going to put some of them up on YouTube in a couple of weeks. I had all the tapes, and there's a site called TwinCityMedia.com. Tom Osman is the archivist of all his old stuff, you know, that's been around the Twin Cities. But whenever we needed an idea, Seth would have it, and I mean, I just started thinking of some of the stuff that, you know, he came up with. I don't know how he could have done it. J. Klein Chevrolet, they're no longer in business, they were on Lake Street, and they wanted us to talk about a sale. And so the gist of the commercial was, well, prices are going up, so you should buy now. So Seth came up with this idea to have a $1 bill crawl up a rope. You know, so you can see this $1 bill crawling up a rope, and then it goes into a car commercial. And we had another guy that was doing animation with a Bolex camera, for those of you that know anything about it. It was just amazing. Bob knows. It was just the stuff that we turned out. Ing's Waterbed Showcase was another one. Video rental places. I mean, I could just go on and on. And whenever I introduced Seth, I had so much fun saying, well, this is, you know, my friend Joseph Bluedorn, Seth for short, you know, Joseph. You know, I had to kind of describe that. People really kind of got a kick out of that. I know I did. But I met him a few times in the last few years. We both shopped at Lund's and Hyman, and I would see him there with, you know, buying stuff for dinner. We chatted and talked. And And sort of, kind of the moral of the story is, I was telling Amanda, I have two friends. One passed away about a year ago. He had cancer. He didn't tell anybody about it. He was very instrumental in my life as well. And I said to his wife, I just wish he would have said something to me, because I would have liked to have had a conversation with him, kind of shoot the shit one more time and talk about it. And I said, if I'd known Seth was going to die, I would have loved to call him up and had lunch with him. I've gone over the old stuff. But anyway, he was a great guy, and I just say to him, there's only one, and they broke the mold after Seth. So thank you.
My name is Pacific. Jina yangu ni Pacific. Jina yangu ni Pacific. Sehemu tulijuana kutoka hiyo mwaka ilipita mwezi wa pili tarehe 5 ndio tukafika huku. Sehemu akatupokea akakaa msasa. Alikuwa amekuja kwa familia yangu kama mzazi. Alikuwa kila wakati nilipatana na shida, yeye na familia yake ni wao wako karibu na mimi. Alikuwa kama baba yangu, mahali sijawahi pata mzazi kama yeye. Alikuwa mzazi wangu na familia yake. Leslie ni mama yangu. Kama mzazi sijawahi jua mama yangu, lakini nilipata mzazi hapa. Nilikuwa nauliza Mungu, kwa nini Mungu ameondoa mzazi mwenye nimepata, lakini yote ni kwa kusudi kwa Mungu. Mimi nilikuwa nalaumu Mungu sana, lakini ni kupenda kwa Mungu. Sevu ameshaondoka, ameenda.
Okay, so I'm going to do a small translation about what she said. I am a certified interpreter, so you don't need to be worried. You don't need to pay me anything. Yeah, so I'm a friend to this family, and we came in as a family, and I have never met Seth, but I've heard a lot of wonderful things about him. And when I met the daughter, I told the daughter that Seth has not left us. He's still here with us. This is a product of Seth. He brought this family from Africa. So this is the mother, and we have Mediatrice, the daughter, and we have John, his favorite friend. Seth taught John how to walk around, how to ride a bicycle. He taught Media how to do all these things. So I came in as a friend just to assist on where I can. And this is a very close family to me, and I really appreciate them. And whatever she said, it's all to appreciate you, Leslie. She says that you are more than a mother to her. And Seth was more than a father to this family. Everything Seth has done has brought a lot of joy. This is a very small family, but they really appreciate. And one of our church pastors is here too. He wanted to also appreciate your family for what you've done. So as I stand here, my name is Collins Omari, and I'm really excited to see a beautiful team. So if you look right in front of me, the second table, we have a big team there, and there's another team on this side. So we're going to have only one person to just come say hi on behalf of the team, and that is our church pastor. And so I'll give him a chance to also say hi to the team and appreciate you, Leslie, for what you've done. Thank you so much.
Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Jean-Pierre Gatera. So I have never met Seth, but through his work from these people, and also my daughter, one of my daughter met with him, and also Seth promised him to buy a computer for her. So then I was really interested to hear about the person who promised my daughter to buy a computer. Then I keep on following up. Then I heard really a lot from this family about Seth. So when I heard that Seth passed away, I had really to announce in the church, in the fellowship, whoever will be available to come and be in the family, because we are all of us a family. Because whoever does things for any member, and also in the Christian setup, all of us were brothers and sisters, regardless where we are coming from or where we live. So that's why we decided to come to be the part of this gathering, as we are just comforting the family and also saying that we are together in this. So thank you very much, even for allowing us to be here. Thank you, and may God bless you so much.
I want to say thank you for everything you've done for me. You've done a lot of stuff for me. You taught me how to read a Bible. He's like a father figure to me. I've never had a father in my life. And he was like everything to me, and he helped me with stuff that I didn't know. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to take a bus. I was not comfortable taking a bus, and he taught me how to take a bus, how to be comfortable and be strong and to learn new stuff. Every time, I know I'm not good in basketball, but the first game he came to my game, he told me he does not accept me to be on the court for a long time, even though I got a chance to go to the court and play. I need to be positive, be strong, be brave. I need to believe in myself. I can do something. If you can believe you can do something, you can do something. I played once and he was happy, he was proud of me. I didn't make any shots. But he was proud of me. He told me if I get a chance to be a point guard, even though he would like to see me play as a point guard, because that's my dream. And I don't think he'll see me, but I know he'll be with everywhere I go.
Okay, thank you so much.
To our whole family, everyone has just showed up in such an incredible way. So thank you for planning this. He would have loved this party. He really would have loved this party. I just want to say one last thing. I forgot to say this earlier, but we've been going through all of this old stuff at the house, and my sister and I found a little document he had typed up from like 1993, and he described his ideal life. And in it, he had a partner who loved him, who he would pick up next to every day. Then he got back, and he said he wanted to be able to go on a bike ride every day, and he pretty much got that. And he said he wanted me to get a good education, and I got that. And he said he wanted to be useful in his community, and especially to do something that benefits children. So John and Medea, I'm just so happy that that you have been a part of his life. Thank you for that. For everyone at More Pantry who came, you know, he just really wanted to live a life of service, and he did. So thank you.